Okay, welcome everybody to the PBMED podcast number 3. I'm your host Dustin with my co-host Cody from 𝐋𝐢𝐬𝑬𝑫. How you doing, Cody?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Doing great. Thanks for asking.
Good to hear.
We're gonna get right into things today. Try and keep ourselves less than long-winded. And let's go ahead and start with our sponsor. We've got the same sponsor as last week, which is Pickleball Drop Shop. They've sponsored us and in turn given the viewers a good deal. And it goes for another week. It started last week for 2 weeks. One more week. You can get 15% off any of the paddles on their website. That goes from now to December 25th. They've got a whole bunch of paddles. Tell us your favorite deal from them, Cody.
I gotta say, like, the fact that you can get 15% off on all the paddle tech, especially like the new Bantams, is really cool. Because like a lot of other online stores don't have that kind of discount. So I thought that's really cool. That's probably my favorite.
Yeah. I'll say that the deals they're offering us are some of the best deals that you'll ever find. Even that we found last week or a couple weeks ago now on Black Friday. Paddle techs, carbons, Pro XRs, Selkirks. They're very generous for this period. And then after that, the PBMED code's still active, but it goes down to 10%. So still some of the best deals, but 15% for the next week.
Yeah.
So cool.
That's pretty sweet.
We have one pertinent announcement this week before we just jump right into the dissection and the paddles, which that's kind of our outline for today. We're going to do a dissection. It'll be asynchronous because I haven't done it yet. I'm going to do it right after this because last minute things, I'll explain why in the dissection. But then we've got a bunch of paddles. We've got some more community paddle reviews. And today Cody and I are going over our top 5 paddles under $100.
Mm-hmm.
So the announcement. So we've picked a short list of our favorites for the people who named our community paddle review portion. Tell us your 3, Cody. One of them overlapped, and we're going to put the 5 that we picked in the comments below, and everybody can go on and vote for their favorite one, and the winner, whoever picked the winning name, we're going to send them a paddle. So what were your finalists, Cody?
So in no particular order, it was the court report, which just sounded, I don't know, just rolls off the tongue really well. And then clinical trials. I like how that kind of like goes in with the pickleball medicine theme. And then finally rec play recs. I thought that was I like that.
Yeah, the RPR, the rec play recs. That was our overlap. I liked that one as well. We'll see what the viewers like. I also liked the review crew and open play paddle reviews. I think it fits as well. And then I also wanted, a lot of choices. I wanted to mention a couple honorable mentions on my end. So somebody clearly has some sort of like connection to medicine or has like lived in this world or knows somebody. But somebody said as their choices, guest appearances, outpatient surgery, which as a person going into emergency medicine, I thought that was kind of funny. And paddle reviews, clinical trials, which was one of yours. Amateur prescriptions and community diagnoses. I thought those were all very good plays on words.
I'm a dad of 4. Any time that I can, throw a pun in there or anything, I love it. So that works.
Yeah, I like those. They're nice rolls off the tongue. I didn't make my short list of finalists because they weren't directly intuitive as much so to like if somebody were to go to the timestamps and be like, oh, clinical trials, what the hell? So anyways, that was my why they're honorable mentions for me, but I love those. Nice work.
Yeah.
Okay, so our next section, the dissection this week, it'll be asynchronous, so I'm going to record it right after this, and I'm going to insert it right now. And it's because one of the paddles that we'll talk about today, talk about it in the dissection, raised some questions for me. So I'm going to cut it open and really go through it with a fine-tooth comb and come to the bottom of whether or not I have concerns. So I'll insert that now. The paddle you're seeing here is the Zeus paddle from REV Pickleball. It's a Gen 3 constructed paddle with 2 foam rings in the perimeter, similar to that of the YELLOW3S. Now, I became just a little concerned with the construction of this paddle when I was going over pictures of it with Justin from Pickleball, etc., when he noticed a little crease in the edge of the paddle face. And in a small side note here, I think if you're a new company, or any company for that matter, and you're designing new paddles, you would be a fool not to have somebody like Justin in your corner. And in fact, I think that person should be Justin. He knows a ton about paddles, and he's my go-to consult for paddle construction. So seriously, if you don't have a Justin or the Justin, you are off your rocker. So anyways, we got to talking, and Justin's cut open a lot of paddles. Sent me a bunch of pictures, which I'll show on the screen here with his permission. Well, it turns out that historically, a lot of the paddles that have been known to core crush more often than others are paddles that have been made thicker than their thermoformed mold has been, and then had to be smashed down and heated in place. And so then they basically come accordioned or crunched out of the factory. You can see the evidence of this in Justin's stacks of paddles he has here, with cores that have that crease in it because they had to be pressed down into place during the construction process. So you can understand our concern when we saw a comparable crease in the picture that the owner of REV Pickleball sent to me, so I had to cut one open for myself. As I cut this open here, I made sure to use as little pushing force as possible so I didn't press down and compress the face at all, and I mostly let the saw do the work as I pulled and pushed the saw across the face. And if you want to see the effects of masking tape on tear out on one side versus the other side that doesn't have it, you can see that here too. I cut out multiple sections down across the face of the paddle so that I could look at several segments of the core here. And you can see as I stack them one on top of each other, each section or little segment of the core that I cut out here had at least some form of a crease or like a folded up accordion type look to it in one form or another. Compared to some of the worst ones that Justin cut out there, it's on the more mild side, but nonetheless it's there, and that's in stark contrast to some of the other paddles that I've cut and that he's cut here that you can see just clean, straight core segments. You can clearly see how these folds would be a weak point of the paddle as I squeeze together those parts of the face here. It doesn't bend in every part of the paddle that I press down on, to be fair, but certainly the parts that do compress and that I can make compress right there where those creases are. I also found it was just a little bit interesting to note that the foam was thicker on the segments that were further towards the tip of the paddle, which just probably illustrates the point that inner foam ring gets thicker as you move more towards the top of the paddle. And that's even to the point that the bottom face segments have no inner channel of foam. And if you cut the handle open here, you can see the edge foam that's used kind of in that normal thermoforming, right by the edge guard process is there, but it doesn't have that inner channel, which I would not have expected. This is a little more typical for what you'd expect on the inside of a handle compared to the gearbox handle that was pretty much all foam that we cut open last week. And in terms of that question, is this paddle coming over compressed or core crushed from the factory? Certainly there's a component of compression that's occurring as evidenced by our creases that come throughout the paddle face here. And in comparison to some of the more extensively core crushed paddles you can see in Justin's pictures here, I would agree with his take that these are probably on the more mild side, but it is evident that there's at least some component of compression coming from the factory on these paddles. Now, what's my takeaway on their durability long term? Well, I think that's hard to say. I think it's safe to say that we're at least at mild risk of having some problems, just like there's a mild amount of core compression that we see from the factory here. They've played pretty well so far, so I'm hoping it keeps that up, but time will tell on the durability aspect. So hopefully at this point, I will have shared our dissection, and Cody still does not know it, but I'll talk to him, I don't know, after this. By the time you're seeing it, he'll see it.
I've seen some pictures of a paddle dissection that was done third party and shared the pictures with us. There's a couple concerns, and I'm really hoping that it's not going to translate over to the paddles that we've been playing with. So yeah. I'm very interested to see the results that your paddle dissection yields. Yeah,
it should be good. And for the viewers, it will have already happened, but I liked this paddle, I'll say, but we'll save that for when they get there. So, you ready to talk about our paddles today?
Sure. Do you want to start with that one, or what's your list?
Let's start with the other ones. Let's start with those other ones. So, we've got Cody and I have been playing with I've had more time to put some real numbers on our Hurache power paddles. We've got the Hurache-X power, which is the elongated 60 millimeter version, the Vapor power, which is also 60 millimeters, but is hybrid shaped, although it has a very, it has a new shape. It's not typically
It's a very
hybrid
unique shape, but it just works. It just works.
It does. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, and then of course the Pegasus power, which is in the previously known Monarch shape, the wide body shape. So let me share some stats on these real quick. So I looked at some of the other reviewers, their swing weights and their raw weights and stuff. I think at least for the Hurache-X version, I might have got one of the heavier ones. Raw, it had a gross weight of 8.3 ounces. And I'll say, feeling it, I picked that one up again. Like it doesn't feel crazy heavy. Like it's not super head heavy per se, but the Hurache-X version, a swing weight of 119, twist weight of 6.34, balance point was 243, which is like a typical range for an elongated paddle. And a maneuverability score, which goes 1 to 100, 100 being the more heavy, less maneuverable paddles, and 1 being some of the fastest paddles that are out there, a 46. So even at the elongated shape, like although it takes into account swing weight, twist weight, gross weight, all that stuff.
Even at the elongated shape and with an 8.3 ounce static weight, and that's no mods or anything, that's completely stock.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow,
yeah, exactly. So it all comes together really well. It's got for an elongated paddle, it doesn't feel heavy, and it comes together in your hand really well. And since we're on it, let's just keep talking about the elongated shape first.
Go for it.
I felt like, so it's got an interesting feel. So these are Gen 3 construction. They have the floating core, so they've got a perimeter, layer of foam, and then an inner layer of foam. It feels like it's certainly an increase in power from the Gen 2 Hurache-X Control Plus. But it feels, compared to like some of the more hollow-ish feeling Yola 3S's, it's much more full. It's much more full feeling. So it's almost kind of Olympus-like in the sense that it distributes kind of the feel of impact further. So it's more full, less hollow than other typical Gen 3s.
It's almost like that's basically what I feel like a 16 millimeter Olympus would feel like. Is that paddle?
Yeah,
almost.
Except for lighter, I'd say like the Hurache-X is even lighter in the hands, I think, than the 14 millimeter Spartus Olympus, and of course the construction is totally different. But it's kind of a mix, like a halfway point in the middle. Yeah, I think you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. My average drive speed for the Yola 3S was 57 miles an hour or very close to that. The average drive speed for miles per hour on the Hurache-X power version was 57.6. So it was a little higher, but I'll say that probably came with more effort. I think it's not quite as explosive as like the 3S is, but with more effort, a higher average miles per hour. But I'll say with a little bit more effort, it's less poppy, I would say.
Yeah, and that's what I think a key thing for me is that slightly less pop. And it's like that what was that term for that curve where input
exponential
versus output? Yeah, it's got the exponential curve for the power paddles, the 11SIX24 power paddles is not quite as steep as that of the 3S's. So a lot, you have that feedback a lot better. You can better predict where the ball is going to go with these power paddles opposed to like the 3S.
Yeah, I agree. It's still exponential in a Gen 3 way. But yeah, you're right. The curve, instead of being like, if mod was like ramp and the 3S was a little bit less steep, this is just a little bit even less steep than that. It's not linear effort to power correlation. It's still exponential, but less so. Yeah. And then all three of these just spin super well. And I'll say particularly the Hurache-X elongated power and the Vapor. Like there's that difference in like paddles that spin really good and or spin good, and you see them and you watch them kind of like make an arc with the ball, and then paddles that spin really good and you see that break on the ball, like a pitcher throwing a curveball where it launches and then it like changes. Yeah, it's like it hits a point where it's like totally dives, and I noticed that frequently with the Hurache-X and the Vapor in particular. I don't know why, but the spin wasn't as pronounced to me on the Pegasus version. I can't speak to why, and that's probably just subjective, but spin was just phenomenal. And I love the feel. I love the feel of them.
Yeah. So of the three, which is your favorite shape and why?
Good segue, because my favorite is the Vapor.
I feel that's been everybody's favorite.
Yeah,
It's
it's
been
so
everybody's
good.
favorite. It's
so good.
I would have to say it's my favorite of the three as well.
Yeah, so the stats on this one, the gross weight on this 8.2 ounces, swing weight was 115, twist weight was 6.92, so approaching 7 like stock. And then the maneuverability score on this was actually 63, so a little bit higher probably because of the twist weight. So slightly above average, and I would say even just in the hand, I mean, it feels average, maybe a little less than average, but like, I think the taper puts the sweet spot a little higher than what most hybrids feel like. And maybe that's why I liked it so much, is when you're hitting the sweet spot, you can get more leverage than I think on a lot of hybrid paddles. Spins super good. The feel again is like, so it's a full carbon fiber face. All three of these are, and it just gives it a nice plush feel. Very good on dampening vibrations. I mean, they look awesome. So I really liked this one. Was it your favorite as well, or did you have a different favorite?
The Vapor was my favorite. And what I enjoyed the most about it is the fact that it's so light and easy to swing around. You have so much room for adding weight how you want to either raise power, widen the sweet spot, whatever it is that you want to do. There's just so much room, because I think like currently I play with the Vatic Saga long handle version, and I have it weighted up to 9.2 ounces, and it's hilarious. Every single time I hand that paddle to someone, they immediately like,
holy shit.
Oh my goodness, it's so head heavy.
Yeah.
It's so heavy. And for me, it really doesn't feel bad. And so the first time that I grabbed the Vapor, and I'll say I don't have all three of these paddles. I did get the chance to meet up with David, the owner of 11SIX24, and we play tested all of them, various weight setups and whatnot. So I got a really, really good feel of each one of those paddles, and that was how I was able to talk to him about like his definition of the Gen 3 and the core construction and everything. So it just gives you so much room to customize as you want. And like I said, it's the feel of the paddle. Even your Hurache-X, you said, was 8.3 ounces stock, but it does not feel that way.
Yeah, it doesn't
when you're
feel
swinging
like
it.
that.
And that goes for the Vapors as well, and the Pegasus paddles.
Yeah, and really like I think the sweet spot on the elongated version of the Hurache-X is obviously it's smaller than the rest. It's not tiny. It's not small like compared to the general population of paddles, but I think it needs a little lead to widen the sweet spot. I would play with the Vapor without weight. I think it's plenty fine. Then the Pegasus, unless you have anything to add more about the Vapor.
No, the only my favorite setup for the Vapor was I think 0.2 ounces on each side at the bottom corners, and then one over grip, and that worked well for me.
Yeah, a little sweet spot widening,
and just a little bit. I'm not a power player, so if I can add a little bit of weight to help me get a little more power out of it, I will.
Yeah,
as long as it doesn't decrease the feel of my hand speed at the net, because that's my favorite aspect of the game is hand battles. So if I can add a little bit of weight near the throat to add power and not take away from that hand speed, that's really I've only ever put paddle at the top corners. I've only ever put weight at the top corners of a paddle once, and it was the Monarch Alpha 1 paddle from 11SIX24.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that. I think so. Then that's good. I'll draw that into the talk about the Pegasus then. So that's the same shape. So the Pegasus name, that's going to be the new name for the Monarchs.
Yep.
I think I would put, so the sweet spot on this is just freaking ginormous. And I'll say, so the swing weight 111, plenty of room to add lead if you want. The twist weight was 7.44, which is not a direct correlate to sweet spot always. And in Gen 3, constructed paddles, I think the twist weight means more than what it plays like typically. It just happens to be that way for whatever reason. Sweet spots are bigger per the same twist weight when you're looking at Gen 3 paddles, in my experience. So at 7.44, which is a huge number, stock, on a Gen 3 constructed paddle, the sweet spot is huge. So the average drive speed, again, like max effort, was 57.3 on this. And that's compared to 57.4 on the Vapor and 57.6 on the Hurache-X. So a tight spread, and that's like standing at the baseline measuring with, the Stalker Pro and whatever. In gameplay, I would say like the Pegasus probably has the least amount of power. So I would probably add lead just to get more power from these. But even still, like still good power, still great power, maybe like a little bit below the 3S. But ultra stable. All these just feel so full, so stable, just super well constructed paddles. These are going to be just incredibly popular. David said, I think he said in his like little notes that he ordered like 10,000 of them. So it's not going to be like the bread and butter 300 paddles that will sell out in like 10 minutes. But I think that a bigger chunk is going to come out of these fast than what people might expect. They're going to be super popular.
Yeah, I think he said there's like 3 different drops that are going to happen, 10,000 total. And I told him, I said, I don't think that each drop is going to last more than 48 hours. I don't think inventory is going to last more than 48 hours.
Yeah, well, and they're going to have so they drop on February 7th. Is that right?
Something like that.
Yeah, somewhere right there.
We'll have a definitive answer before.
Yeah. Yeah, it's on the paper. I just don't have it on hand. It's somewhere right there. But, where are they going with that? Oh, yeah. So you're going to have like several weeks of people talking about these before you can buy them, which is good and bad. But it'll give us time to test the durability, which the question one for me now is there a break-in and what is that like? I can't answer that yet. I know David said he's hit like 8,000 drives and serves with the one that he's using now and hasn't felt anything significantly change. But for myself, that's yet to be tested. So you have that. Oh, and also, like I'll say too, so the price of these is for what they are incredible. So $169 before codes, and if it's the same as before, it'll be a $10 off code. So $159. Well worth it. Well worth it, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
So, awesome paddle, well constructed, great price. So you're going to see these a lot in public. So
I think so.
Ready for the next one?
Let's do it.
Okay, so the next one we've got the Zeus by REV Pickleball. So this is overall hybrid shaped paddle. I forget the exact measurements. Somewhere around 16.3-ish in a hybrid shape. 14 millimeters thick is a big one, and then again it has 2 layers of foam in the perimeter. Made with a carbon fiber face. Swing weight 112, twist weight 6.29, raw weight 7.9, so still under the 8-ounce raw weight mark. Overall maneuverability score 43, so below average. And I'd say I'm even kind of a little bit surprised with that score because feeling it in my hand, I don't know what you think, Cody, but it feels pretty light.
It's super light. It feels super light. Easy to swing. Well, go over your twist weight and swing weight again.
Oh yeah, did you measure yours?
I measured mine.
So my swing weight 112 and twist weight 6.29.
Okay, I got mine came in at 8.0 ounces exactly. 113 for the swing weight and 6.34 for the twist weight.
Yeah, so that tracks. So marginally different on weight and marginally different on. Yeah, that's very acceptable standards for 2 totally separate paddles. So good. Oh, hold yours up if you have it right there because they come in a few different colors. He's got yellow. I've got blue. Lots
like
to choose
pink
from
and
there.
Green and orange and a bunch of other colors. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's cool.
But,
here's what I think about how these play.
Oh,
yeah. So these are nice, really. So these, in fact, so I hit these side by side. A bunch of paddles, but also the Pegasus powers, the Olympus, just really to kind of figure out where I can stack it. So this is more poppy even, I felt, than the 11SIX24 powers. Drive speed was a little lower, raw like stock. Overall a lighter paddle, but coming off of the face, it's more poppy than any paddle that I tested today. And I'd say it's probably comparable in pop to like maybe the Olympus, maybe even just a little higher than the Olympus in pop alone. I don't know. What did you think about that?
I think I told you as soon as I hit it, my initial thought was like, I really want to cut this open because this plays incredibly similarly to the Olympus. So I wanted to make sure. I was like, if they happen to have the same construction or not, I wasn't entirely sure. So that was my initial thought. I said this is very similar to the Olympus.
Yeah, we didn't know at first what the construction specifically, like why they were saying it was Gen 3. We now know it's a two layered foam ring, but I did hit it side by side the Olympus. I'll say like both in terms of shape and pop, it's comparable, maybe slightly more poppy than the Olympus, but I felt the Olympus was again more full feeling, like it was more stable. It was a little bit more full, so like less hollow. I think this has kind of more of the Gen 3 hollow type feel. And drive speed, just plow through drive power on the Olympus was higher. It was an overall heavier feeling paddle. I felt like I could really, when I swung hard, push it a little bit faster with the Olympus than the Zeus. But again, I bet if I put some weight on here, which I haven't done yet, it would stabilize a lot, and I would get a lot more drive power.
I was just gonna say I still have mine in stock, and I've been wanting to add weight, but I've been waiting, and I think just a little bit of weight around like the sides and bottom corners or so would really make a huge difference on this paddle. Yeah,
I agree. And again, a good price on these. So these are listed at $149. The PBMED code takes 10% off, so $134 for one of the cheapest Gen 3 paddles that you can get, and really is a great deal. I was talking to Tyler, the owner. He's been playing with his for a while. I was talking to him about break-in, what he's experienced and seen, and he's been playing with his for a little bit and hasn't seen much of a break-in yet. And again, that's from the owner of the company, so take that with a grain of salt. But I think time will tell on the break-in period, the durability, but it feels good. It probably needs a little bit of weight for plow through power and stabilization, but just solid. Poppy paddle and great price.
It is. It really is, yeah.
All right, so next we unboxed this last week. So this is the 247 Athletic Mystic. So this is an interesting one. So this is fully elongated, 16.5 by 7.5, 16 millimeters, but the exterior face is made of a weave of 18K carbon fiber and Kevlar. So that's a first. Obviously it looks beautiful. It looks great. Feels great. The surface is incredibly textured, and I honestly can't totally tell if it's just from like the peel apply grit or if it's something to do with the weave, but either way it feels very textured. And then if we look at the stats on this sucker, so swing weight 118, twist weight 6.32, gross weight, so mine was 7.9 ounces. Balance point was 242, and then the maneuverability score, which again, middle of the road is 50. This was 55. So I'd say most of the time, elongated paddles are much higher. So they're at least like the top third. I mean, it makes sense. They're the longest paddle shapes. So this is for its shape, lighter feeling, and that makes sense compared to like feeling it in my hand. It doesn't feel light to where I'm like, I know I'm going to need lead, but it's not heavy either. So anyone could wield this. And then 5.75 inch handle. So lots of room for two hands. In terms of how it played, I'll say not what I expected. Just because it kind of somewhat resembles, it looks a little bit like the shape of the 𝑰𝑵𝑪𝑶𝑖𝐵𝒕𝒔 Vector and the color scheme of the Viva Pro Gen 3, which both like hit pretty hard. I'll say this was more soft. This was very plush feeling, and really, really, really good with control and good spin. What did you think?
I think you summed it up great. And then I would say the maneuverability was really good for being an elongated paddle. It's the longer handle makes two-handed backhands feel really solid, and then drives felt great with it. The amount of spin that I was getting off of this paddle was so good. I kind of talked about it last time, but the dip just dropping over the net,
Yeah.
was great.
Yeah, I agree.
I would definitely say like I would add a little bit of weight for this, just like I said, the bottom corners. And then my numbers, this came in at 8.1 ounces for me. Twist weight
Heavier.
6.37, and swing weight 119.
Okay, so you're 0.2
Yeah.
ounces heavier than mine and just a little bit higher in swing weight. That's a good sign.
Yeah.
Like some paddles, like the Engage paddles, I'll say when they go up in ounces, a lot of the construction is in the head. So then you see like the swing weight go up a lot. But even with a normal amount of variance in weight, the swing weight and twist weight stay about the same.
Yeah.
I did put 3 grams of lead when I was playtesting this right on those symbols at the 3 and 9.
Okay.
Before that, I'd say the sweet spot was like average. And then after that, it felt a bit more stable, but still. So I would say that this is more in the control category, maybe
Absolutely.
bordering. Yeah, control cat. And then when I weighted it up, I would say it like kind of put it on that border of control and power. Still like very linear power to effort correlation ratio there. So it's not exponential. This is going to be a good paddle for people who want a lot of spin, who like a plush feel, and who want a paddle that's going to be easy to control. That's what I think
that
this
looks
paddle
really
is going to
cool.
be good for. Yeah, it really does. It comes with, and it's a great price too. So before codes 122, after codes it's like 110. So
Yeah.
seriously, one of the best priced paddles on the market. And it's great to see more of these out there. And they were originally gonna list this at like 180, which
Yeah.
I think isn't bad. It just now that it's that low, it's a screaming deal.
Yeah. It would probably be on my like favorite budget paddle list.
Yeah.
If I made one of those, but
Yeah, I think it should
I
be.
try to keep it at like, so my lists, I try to keep it pretty easy as like, best under $100, best control, best power, yada yada. So yeah, this is definitely in the control category, especially for me as well. And I'll say the graphics, like the look of the paddle, is definitely one of those where people are gonna love it or gonna hate it. Because I kind of had that same thing where I showed it to people, and a couple people were saying that they weren't a huge fan of all of, like, they said it was kind of distracting their eyes. They didn't know where to look. But they also said the same thing about like the 𝑰𝑵𝑪𝑹𝑬𝑫 18K and the coarse shapeshifters and whatnot. So they said the same thing about those. And then they also hated like the bread and butter paddles because of all of the designs and everything. So if you like designed paddles with the graphics and everything, I think it's really cool. Which I like it, and I like dragons. So
I'm not with those people. I think it's very slick. The look, I'll just say, like, it's not plain, but it's not too much. So I'm not in the camp of those people who said that. That's what I'll say. Okay, ready to move on?
Let's do it.
Okay, so we got the GRUVN LAZR 16 HD. Actually, just barely noticed on the side it says pew pew pew. I totally didn't see that till now. Oh my gosh! So I held it in front of my face like that.
Do you have any other laser paddles?
I do.
GRUVN lasers around?
Oh my gosh! You gotta be kidding me. How? So this is the 16X. It also says pew pew pew.
So
that's freaking gotta be new. I've been playing with these for a while. I bet it's not new, and it's one of those things that's like, if it's been sitting there forever, you probably just don't see it anymore. That's cool though. I like that. All right. Anyways, so GRUVN's name, the naming system, it's a lot like other companies that use letters and numbers and a lot of very similar things. So LAZR, that's their designation for their Kevlar carbon fiber hybrid paddles. Like hybrid is in material. So there's the LAZR 16S, X, and now HD. So the dash and then the numbers. So the 16, that's the thickness. So it's 16 millimeters. And then the HD, so that's their hybrid designation. The X, so like the LAZR-16X is like extended. It's elongated. And then the 16S, as in snake, is for standard shape. So they have now 3 shapes. This one we're talking about now is the LAZR-16HD, which is the hybrid-shaped 16 millimeter Kevlar carbon fiber weave thermoformed paddle.
Yep.
And then I'll share just the specs real quick on that. Did you measure yours, by the way?
For some reason, I can't find the stock weight, but I do have the swing weight at 115.8 and the twist weight at 6.72.
Oh, interesting. I would be interested then maybe after the call or whatever to hear your gross weight, because my gross weight was 7.9, so light, and then my swing weight was 111, so like 5-6 points less than yours, 6 points less than yours. Twist weight of 6.53, so comparable twist weight. Overall maneuverability score 42, so lighter than the average paddle.
Yeah, I'll have to go.
And
with
I'll
this
say,
now.
yeah. One thing I will say that's interesting. So, excuse me. So on the website, they list the dimensions as 16.2 inches long by 7.5 inches wide, or something like that. And so I measured it. I measured all these myself. I typically do just to verify. They might have done themselves a disservice because this one is 7.85 inches wide. It is, in fact, that same length they listed, but it's a little wider than they said, which is usually a good thing. And I think it contributes to what I'd say a larger sweet spot on this paddle. So just a little bit wider than what they said. It's damn near like 8 inches wide. So 7.85 inches wide here. And as far as how it played, absolutely nothing surprised me about this paddle. I'll say it, just having played with a lot of GRUVN paddles, and I really liked the LAZR-16X. In fact, I said that it was my favorite Kevlar paddle last year when I made my top 5 video. This was exactly what a person who has played with either the 16S or 16X would expect from a in-between of those two. I'd say it probably had a larger sweet spot than the 16X, hit a little bit harder than the 16S, and have the same play characteristics as in like the slightly more stiff than average feel, same good spin, like low dwell time. Nothing surprised me about this paddle and how it played.
And that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, it's not.
I want to reiterate that that's not a bad thing. I thought the exact same thing when I hit it. I said, this is exactly how I thought it would play. Yeah. Because a lot of the times, if you know the construction and everything of a paddle, you can surmise some sort of playability of a paddle, and then you go try it, and you go, "Oh no, this is different." This was no surprise.
Yeah, and the thing I liked about both of the other lasers that GRUVN made, the standard shape and the elongated, is actually the lower dwell time. It's not so low like the Chorus Fires, but it's easier with paddles like this with a lower dwell time that also produce good spin, which, by the way, RPMs on the 16HD, 2084. So good spin, not like totally elite, but good, is that you can put little effort into swinging at the ball and like at the net. You want to brush a ball, like if you're trying to hide a dink into a speed up kind of thing, like it spins well still compared to like, gearboxes or some Gen 3 paddles where you need to compress it for it to grab the paddle to impart spin. These, with little effort, spin well.
Yeah. It's not exactly talking about the spin, but just more the playability of the paddle. But it was a very... It's like... It's in the all-around category for me, but in a muted kind of way, if that makes sense. So because it's got great control, it's got decent power when you want it. It's not incredibly poppy, but it's like fast in the hands of the net. It gets great spin. It does everything well. So that's why I say it's in that kind of all. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe not all court, maybe all around paddle or something. Yeah. But it just does everything well, and I'm sure a little bit of weight on the sides, maybe even a little bit at the top for me, because it's super maneuverable. So
Yeah.
it a little bit of weight at the top to bring that power level up a little bit.
Yeah.
And then it's just a great paddle.
Yeah. I think it does most things. I think you're right. I think it does most things well. I don't think it really stands out in any particular way. It's just kind of like, just a good paddle. So if people want something that has like a super, like, just you want to paddle with the hugest, sweet spot or the biggest power or the best control, this is just kind of like a middle of the road in a good way paddle. It'll play well. It's pretty much exactly what you'd expect. And also, I'll say, like, as a little plug, GRUVN has they're doing a Christmas. It's like a follow-up Black Friday sale. So all their paddles are $20 off plus stackable with discount codes. So I think that puts, and the HD is the same price as the other lasers. So so right now it's $149 list price. You can take 10% off with the code. So it's $134.
wow.
Again, $134 is a great price for this paddle.
Yeah.
And then when it goes back up to $169, if you take, 10% off of that, math on the spot, like roughly $150, a little bit north of that or something like that.
Yeah.
Still a good price. So for people who I'd say if you want a plush filling paddle, probably not. This is probably not it. It's not ultra stiff, but it's not super plush either. Or if you want to stand out in any particular way, maybe not, but it's just good in every way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say on that, yeah, it's kind of the paddle for people that have just a lot of, tricks up their sleeve. It's for people that can do a little bit of everything, right? It's the jack of all trades, kind of like me, right?
Yeah.
It can just do everything. It's a consistent paddle.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. So, okay.
Yeah.
And I like GRUVN. It's great talking with Kevin, the owner. Super good guy, by the way. They make paddle boards. I know nothing about them, but they look cool. So I digress. Okay, are we ready for the next one?
Yes.
Okay, so this one. So you did you get one of these?
I never received one of those. I was like, that's why I looked down and I go, wait, what's next?
You're like, what the heck?
I don't-
No, yeah, like my stack's
forgot.
empty. No, so
I forgot
this is
about
the.
ARTI.
So yeah, I showed this last week and I hadn't played with it. So this is the ARTI, Kristen and Christy Xmas paddle. So they've got, so yeah, this one showed up surprise at my house. Still don't know for sure. I have ideas now of where Ken, the owner, got contact information for us, but that's fine because I played with it. And it plays really well, actually. They also have a Christmas deal going on. I think it's like now to the end of the month or something on their Christmas-looking paddles. So this lists for like $104. You can take 15% off with the channel's PBMED disco, and so $84 for it. And I thought when I first picked it up, I'm like, okay, well, it's like got a cool design or like a design. I shouldn't say cool or I'll get in trouble, but it's got a design. It's got spray-on grit. So already I'm a little skeptic of the spray-on grit. So know that going into it. But the handle, it's got like those, if you've ever played with a paddle that have those like almost like leather-like, there's no way this is leather, it just can't be, but leather-like brown grips. Kind of like the Chorus Super Court, which I'll grab. Which
You mean
I liked this
the
paddle.
trainer paddle?
Shut up, Cody. This is not a trader paddle. This is an awesome paddle. Yeah, they've got new versions of those coming out. But anyways, so anyway, it's got that great wrap on it. So it doesn't specify on the website if this is thermoformed, but I feel like it is based off how it plays. I unwrapped the handle a bit earlier, and the edge is closed in, so it kind of looks thermoformed. I didn't remove like the layers all the way, so I can't verify, and also I just don't think that's necessarily important. I measured it with my tape measure, 16.3 inches, so technically it's a hybrid shaped. It's got a similar shape as like the YOLO Magnus, what I'd say. I don't have one with me, but if you overlaid it, I imagine it would be similar, like kind of a shorter handle. So two handers are not a thing with this paddle, but it played pretty well. Actually, like it had more power than I thought. It played characteristic of like a thermoformed, semi-stiffish paddle, like comparable to like the OG Friday paddles, where like the power kind of surprised me. Like it was good. I think, see if I measured miles per hour on this. Yeah, so 56.4. So it's not like rocking freaking a rocket out there, but it hit harder than like the Ryu. It's probably like middle of the road for the paddles I tested. I'll say, so it has spray on grit. That's gonna wear out eventually, but it was actually fun. I like the handle. It's a bit squarish. It's gonna be. So I had 2 people stop me and ask about it on my way out. They're like, "What is that?" And somebody was like, "I want to buy that." So I'm like, "Okay." They've got more fun designs than that on their website. I'll say so it's like $84 for the next couple of weeks. If you want a fun paddle that plays pretty well, actually, but if you're gonna play with it every day, it'll probably wear out that grit. All spray on grit wears out. It'll wear out. I don't know how long, depending on how hard you play or how many times you play, it'll wear out. Yeah, might be a good paddle for you. It's not a rocket. It's not a standout in any way. Plays comparably to like the OG Friday paddles. But yeah, surprised. I actually really liked playing with it. So I don't know. I wish you had one so we could talk about it more.
Yeah, I never got one. I guess I'm not popular enough.
It's all right. I'll tell Ken to send you a surprise.
Me and my
a surprise
90
like model
YouTube
paddle
followers.
in the mail. Yeah. No, you we'll see what surprise shows up at your door next. Okay. We ready to move on?
Yeah.
Okay. So this week's topic, like we kind of try and pick some extra topic paddle themes in addition to just our new paddles. So we wanted to talk about our top picks for not only budget paddles but our top 5 under $100. So after codes, but hard, fast cutoff, not $104, not $101, $100 and under. And so what I think we'll do, maybe if Cody, you want to share you have 5 that you picked. So why don't you share your 5 and then tell me, because I don't think you didn't rank them. So tell me your 5 and then tell me your favorite. And then I'll tell you, I actually ranked mine 1 through 5. And then I'll share my list and then we'll talk about them.
I can probably give them in an order.
Okay, give us a vague order. Sorry for whoever got number 5 now at the last minute, but go ahead.
So, vague order, I'm going to have the Neonic Force at number 5.
Okay.
A Gen 2 16mm paddle that was has some good power and some good pop to it, but also some good control and insane spin. That was one of the first paddles that I received as a reviewer, and it blew my mind. And because I got that just after the Vatic V7, and I thought that they were going to play super similar, but they didn't. They played pretty differently, and I enjoyed it. So that one, not because of nostalgia or anything, but the Force gets number 5 for me.
Okay, number 4.
And then number 4, I'm going to go with the... I'm going to say the Vatic Prisms.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. The OG Vatic Prisms. Okay. The OG budgets.
That encompasses all of them. And
okay, that's right. We can talk about why later. Let's hear your whole list.
Sure. So, and then after that, I'm going to go with the Picklin for Good Electo paddles.
Okay. Good choice.
Because I think that's also like a group of paddles, the 3 of them. Yeah, and number 2, I'm going to say the 11SIX24 jelly beans.
Ooh, okay.
I was tempted to put these at number 1, but I think my number 1 paddle, which is the Honolulu J2.
Ooh, okay.
It was such the one paddle was probably one of the first really stand out all court paddles. It's maneuverable. It had good power. It was soft. It just did everything well.
Do you have it with you? Do you have it by hand? You hold that up. Hold that up.
Yeah.
I want it to go on record. That's mine, and as much as Cody loves it, he has to send it back.
I haven't sent it back, unfortunately.
No,
I'll sign it. I'll sign it for you before I send it back.
Well, I was looking for it the other day. I was like, "What the heck?" And it's not unlike me to misplace things. But then I was like, "Wait, I sent something to Cody." Yeah. So, anyways, that's your favorite. You say under $100.
I'm going to put this one as my number 1 under $100 paddle.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I'll share my list and then we'll
Go for it.
debate. We'll debate
Sure.
maybe mildly. So
Paddle battle.
interestingly enough, so I did rank mine 1 through 5. I also put my number 5 as the Neonic Force. It's an elongated Gen 2 thermoform paddle. We'll talk about that in a minute. Number 4, I put the... Where'd it go? I put the ISO-REU, 15 millimeter, titanium, polyester, half Gen 3-ish paddle.
Yeah.
Number 3. So this is interesting. Actually, I'll say, Cody and I were thinking and ordering this list, what paddles individually play much better than $100 paddles. If we go dollar per dollar value, that's different. But so with that in mind, where did I put it? Oh, hanging on the wall. So the OG Friday paddle is my number 3. We'll circle back. And then my number 2 was the Honolulu J2. That was your number 1. That was also I felt it played like more control like, and that was my top pick for like a control paddle under $100 last year. Probably, okay. No, I would say like, so this one is also control. And then my number 1, the 11SIX24 Monarch Jelly Bean. And for me,
Oh,
like,
you got the white. Oh, that's pretty.
oh yeah, but I'm going to knock some stuff down. But I also have this one. I have this one. I have the original colored one around here somewhere. I bought them all when they came out. Like, he sent me one, but then I was like, I don't want to wait. So I just bought them all when I saw the colors drop. So I could take some videos of them. But maybe I'll just say why I'll explain a couple points of my list that I think are pertinent. And then maybe if you want to share a couple. And then our community review today, I took our budget paddles, the top 5 under 100 that I had, I took to the community paddle reviews and had them try them. And so we'll hear their thoughts as well, minus the J2, because Cody had that. And that was a bummer. I wish I had that, but I totally forgot. Anyways, so for me, without even like ranking up 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I knew my number 1. Like, I just knew it was a Jelly Bean. I think the flare shape. So first off, it's Gen 1.5. So it's not thermoform, but it does have perimeter edge foam injection. It's correct me if I'm wrong, Cody, but it's a carbon fiber fiberglass carbon fiber layup. So it's got a little bit of pop, but I would say it's more control. It's a control oriented paddle, and the sweet spot is incredible. So so I've got a bunch of Jelly Beans. I measured another one today just to be sure. But so the swing weight on this one was 109. Twist weight was 7.02 stock. So over 7 stock, which did correlate directly to a good sweet spot. 8 ounces, low balance point. Maneuverability score for this one was a 37. So like in the 30th roughly, really 37th percentile roughly of paddles tested. So it's very easy to move in the hands, plenty of room to add lead. I think almost any player could pick it up and play with it and play well with it. And
yeah,
it also got my number 1 pick for paddles for beginners, although I think like intermediate and advanced players could play with it as well. And I'd say, yeah, it's giving my top paddle spot under $100.
Yeah. I mean, if we said like best control paddle under $100, absolutely the Jelly Beans would be my number 1. And the 14 millimeter Jelly Bean Monarchs are sneaky fun to play with. I will say that. But whenever I go coach, I have the Jelly Beans and the 𝑰𝑵𝑚𝑪𝑹𝑬𝑫 and a lot of beginner oriented
good control-ish paddles.
Yeah, and just about every single time, whenever if they have one of those stupid Amazon paddles, and I say, you can use one of my paddles whenever you're here taking lessons if you want. I think like 9 out of 10 times they've gone for the Jelly Bean Monarch.
Yeah. Well, it looks cool. It's got a unique shape. So, and you picked the J2 as your top. Why did it beat the Monarch? 1. Why did it beat the Monarch for you?
Just because I think dollar, kind of like you said, dollar for dollar. I think being the Gen 2, thermoformed, all that. It's got a little bit more power. I think it's just a more all-around paddle than the Jelly Beans are.
Interesting.
And that kind of is my reasoning. And yeah, that's...
I could see it. And
Yeah.
I think I think it's so the stats that I have, you have my paddle. So that one for me had a swing weight of 114. It also had a twist weight raw 7.03, so almost the same, which is just incredible. All the Honolulu paddles have great sweet spots.
Yeah.
A comparably low balance point. Maneuverability score was 46 compared to the 37 of the Jelly Bean. So again, a little less maneuverable, and I think that correlated. Like it's still easy to move around, but I think the Monarch was a little bit more easy to move around for me. Both spun well. Maybe, yeah, I think I agree. Maybe it has a little bit more plow through power because it's got a little bit more mass to it. So I could say that.
You're almost making me regret choosing the J2 instead of the Jelly Beans now. Dang it.
We could keep going. I could talk about it. No, I'm just kidding. No, I think it's a great choice. You couldn't go wrong.
No, a buddy of mine actually just got a gold in 4.5 singles with the Jelly Bean Hurache-X. It's a great... I mean, they're all great paddles.
Interesting. You got a Jelly Bean Hurache already, which I don't want to dive too much into the weeds, but it is probably important to note that the Monarch Jelly Bean is soon going to be called the Pegasus, because that's the shape, Jelly Bean, which is the layering construction. So this is going to be called the Pegasus Jelly Bean soon. Initially, it will have the all teal edge guard and the teal lettering on a black face. And then later in the year, he's going to reintroduce some more colors. I think this Royal Burst is going to come back. I think he said later in the year, like April-ish or so. But don't quote me on that. But when they launch with the new power paddles and everything's going kind of teal base.
Yeah.
So just know there's a name change, but it'll be the same paddle. Nothing changes in the construction of the Jelly Bean, the Pegasus Jelly Bean. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I want to say a couple honorable mentions for me were
please
for the under $100 real quick, where the Ryu, it barely missed my list, and the reasoning being is because I felt like it wasn't a paddle enough people would enjoy to play with, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then
go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. I was
gonna say like it's probably. So I agree. I think we decided before it's kind of niche. I've been asked a few times now, like, well, what's the niche? What's the niche, Cody?
That's a tough question to answer, and that's kind of why, like I said, it didn't make my list. It's such it's one of those paddles. If you picked it up and you played with it, you would know within the first game. Yeah. Whether you love it or hate it, there's not going to be any, well, let me play with it for a little bit more. Yeah. No, you're going to know pretty quickly. Yeah. So
I think it's a little bit stiffer than you'd expect. It's more whippy and poppy and aggressive than especially compared to the Pulse S, which is also wide body. Those sweet spots a little higher than most wide bodies, so that could be a pro or a con. So more stiff. Sweet spot is a little higher. Yeah. And really, it's just kind of a crisp, agile, attacky paddle, and it just seems to for whatever reason, I've had a bunch of people try it. People love it or hate it. That's all.
And it's hard weird. To explain. It's a wide body, which is typically, associated with being a control paddle, but it's 15 millimeters, which isn't too thin, but it's not. I would not consider that a control paddle.
No, I agree. I think it's
an offensive paddle for sure.
Did you have another honorable mention? I think you said multiple. Did you say no?
Spartus Gladius Centurion is an honorable mention for me, and the only reason why it didn't make my list is because if you go to the website right now and you look, it says final sales. And I talked to the owner, and he said there's going to be an announcement made soon. Yeah. But they're stopping production on those. And that paddle actually it was my number one paddle the last time that I made a list. It was my number one paddle. Interesting. And it would have been either my number one or my number two this time, except for the fact that it's going to be discontinued. I don't want to tell people to go buy this paddle knowing that they won't be able to buy another one in a couple months down the road. So it's great paddle, love it. Yeah. Sad it's going away.
I think it would have made even if it would have stayed around, it probably would have made honorable mention for me. It didn't stand out in a lot of ways, but it was fine. It's a good paddle. You can't go wrong. But yeah, I'll say I'll make a note. So I don't know if we talked about this before or after the community reviews, but since you haven't seen it, I'll just say like dollar. So performance, just standalone one-off performance. I think the Jelly Bean is it, and then the J2's right there. But man, the Fridays, just like you can't. It's freaking like so. On their website, it's 2 for $99. If you use the link below, it's 2 for $95, and you'll see that at checkout. It knocks off an extra $5. I have consistently had people, so it snuck into the community. Oh, hey, I don't have that one.
I love this. I love this design.
It snuck into the community reviews last time on accident, and people were like, "Oh wow, I'm surprised at how well this plays." And then it was in the community reviews this time, and I won't say it till after, but. Again, people are always surprised at how well these play at the Friday Paddles play. So it's got to be on there. It's just such a great value for $1.
Yeah.
So.
And I know the Challenger paddle, I don't know if you have one nearby, but the Challenger paddle, which mine still has the plastic on it. I haven't had the chance to get out there and hit with this yet. But I see so many 5.0 plus players with this paddle. It's crazy.
Yeah. Interesting.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, let's go then into the community review then.
Yeah.
So it's called for probably the last week. And so for this review, let me see what I had for this one. So I didn't have the J2, but I did bring both the OG Friday paddle and the Challenger.
Okay.
The Neonic Force, the Ryu, and the Monarch Jelly Bean, soon to be called the Pegasus Jelly Bean. And these guys all came out, tried each of these paddles, and then we'll cut now to their take on these different paddles. I had them pick their favorite and least favorite, and then we went through each individual one. Afterwards, I'll tell you what they thought since you couldn't watch it.
I haven't seen this community review yet.
Okay, let's cut to that now. Well, we had another day of community paddle reviews. Thanks, guys, for helping out. We'll go through and talk about our paddles. Today we did budget paddles. We're talking about our some of our top picks, or maybe not top picks. We'll see, under $100. But let's start with introductions. Artie?
I play usually with a bunch of 4.0 guys, dupers 3.6, but working on my game a lot, so.
Thanks, Artie.
Ethan, I would say dupers like 4.3, play with a good mix of like 4.0 to probably 4.6 guys, and it's just always fun to get out and play with new people.
Hey, my name is Ray. I'm a 3.7 duper, and playing with these guys is not like playing with 3.5 to 4.0s, that's for sure.
Thanks, Ray. He means these guys. So before we're going to talk about each individual paddle. So we have the Monarch Jelly Bean. It's about to be called the Pegasus Jelly Bean. Some name changes going on there, but for now, Monarch Jelly Bean. We've got the Ryu, the Neonic Force, and then we've got two Friday paddles, the OG Friday paddle, the one that sells for like 2 for $95 or 1 for $90, and then the Friday Challenger, which is like 70 something bucks or something like that. So I'm going to have each of these guys, but with no explanation, first say their favorite and their least favorite, and then we'll go through and talk about each of the paddles. Artie?
My favorite's the Monarch, the Jelly Bean, and the least favorite had to be the Ryu.
Again, if you guys watched the last one, he didn't like the Ryu last time. I wondered if he would this time. Go ahead.
Probably my favorite, Monarch Jelly Bean, and then least favorite would have been probably either of the Friday paddles.
Ooh, okay.
My favorite was the cheaper Friday paddle, and my least favorite was the Neonic.
Ooh, okay. All right. Okay, so let's go through then, and we'll talk about each of them. Your favorite, I think, was the Jelly Bean.
Yeah.
Tell us about what you thought about the Jelly Bean. A little bit closer for the mic. Yeah, there you go.
Definitely like a very good all-court leaning control paddle with a pretty big sweet spot, and I think, I'm not sure, what was the price for this?
It's under $100. I think it's like 90. It depends on the colors. The colors vary a little bit. All of them are under 100, and it's about to go through a color change or whatever, but it'll still be under 100.
Yeah, I mean, for that price, for a good carbon face paddle, it's pretty hard to find, and especially one that's a little bit more all-court like, so there's not much to dislike about it. Maybe some people would have a hard time with the shape. It's more like the 6.0 kind of weird hybrid-looking shape with a flare. But overall, just a pretty good all-court paddle.
Yeah. That's fair. Yeah, I like that. Okay. Ethan?
I'd say kind of building off where Ari left is. Yeah, good.
Was this? Oh yeah. Sorry.
This,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
this
Sorry.
one was
Yeah,
my,
yeah.
yeah, this
Okay,
one's
that
my
was your
favorite.
favorite.
So,
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so kind of going from where Ari left off. I mean, it's a great all-court paddle. Definitely the shape is a little bit weird at first, but kind of once you get used to it, it feels great. Humongous sweet spot. A lot of power when you need it. A lot of really soft when you need it as well. I mean, drops felt great. Resets felt great. I mean, not really too much complaint about this. I mean, a little bit light for me, but obviously you probably throw a lot of lead on it.
Yeah.
It'll feel even better, I would assume. But yeah, I enjoyed it a lot.
Cool. Thanks, Ethan.
So this was my third favorite paddle.
Yeah. Let's do this one. Yeah, we'll finish round out the thoughts here, and then Ray, just a little bit closer, I think, with the mic.
Yep.
I know you're pulling the cord. My bad. Go ahead.
This is my third favorite paddle that I played with today. I like the handle. The shape was a little different than what I'm used to playing with. It's probably why it wasn't in the top. Played soft. I like the way it felt. It just the shape was weird.
Yeah. What do you usually play with?
I usually play with a Pickleball Apes Pulse S.
Okay, so like a traditional hybrid
Yes,
shape.
a traditional hybrid
maybe
is
even
what
a
I'm
little
used
bit more
to.
narrow than traditional hybrid. But yeah,
Yes.
traditional length and shape.
I'm a hybrid kind of guy.
Okay, perfect. Thanks. Okay, now let's talk about the Ryu. Not you. You go last on the Ryu. Okay, Ray, you start with the Ryu.
I liked the Ryu. It played okay. It was super light. I like the handle feel. Again, I'm just not a standard shaped kind of guy, so that's the
fair.
biggest problem I ran into with it is just the shape of it. But it plays great. As far as I had no problem playing with it.
Yeah, it's definitely more square, more box-like than the Pulse S. Yeah.
I'd say this was probably definitely my second favorite paddle. And I know I'm typically not a wide body person, but I mean, it felt really light. Hand speed with it was great. Soft game felt really good with it. You could drive with it when you wanted to. Kind of same thing with the Monarch. I would say an all-court paddle. And I mean, really not too much to complain about considering the price point on this is...
I think it's gonna be. I think that one's around $90 as well.
As well,
All these
okay.
are under 100.
Yeah, under 100.
I don't think it's been released yet, so I think there's a little variance, but it for sure will be under 100.
And what's the surface?
Yeah. So the Ryu is so the surface is quote titanium. It's
Titanium.
the
Okay, I was curious what it was.
polyester carbon fiber weave, and then it's like half of a Gen 3 as well. It's got like 2 layers of foam. Goes kind of like
Really?
maybe 1/3 of the way up the bottom here.
Yeah.
With 2 layers, but 1 layer all the way around. So it's unique.
Yeah,
Unique
like,
design.
it
and
felt
it's 15
good.
millimeter thick.
Yeah, it felt good hidden. I mean, you had the power when you wanted it. You had the soft game when you wanted it as well. I mean, didn't really have, I think, any mishits with it, which kind of surprised me.
Yeah.
I know some people we've had on the channel, I'm not the biggest fan of this, but I honestly
okay.
enjoyed it. I mean, I did not expect to like it as much as I did, considering my preconceived notion of this was it's not the best paddle.
Yeah, that's what you said coming off the court.
Yeah.
You're like, I
know,
agree
like,
last time.
I remember like
this, but
he didn't like it.
Yeah.
I think in the video with him, Domas, and
Jared. Yeah,
Jared,
yeah.
I know. I think it was the least favorite of everybody that you had that day.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, well, it was good competition, but
Yeah.
love the paddles.
But no, this was a good paddle. I enjoyed
Okay,
it.
cool. Thanks, Ethan. Already gave it a second try today. Tell me your updated thoughts. They don't
Yeah.
have to be different. Whatever you
Yeah,
think.
I mean, I wouldn't say that I dislike it, but compared to everything else that we tried today, I think this was my least favorite of them all. But I did like it more on the second try. I think it's just because maybe played a little bit differently today. The ball felt a little different, but still, it's not. It wouldn't be my go-to out of the different paddles we tried today.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, cool. All right, thanks. Let's move on then to the Neonic Force. Maybe I should tell a little bit about each of these paddles before. Well, I don't know. I don't want to ruin your thoughts. You go ahead. I'll just let you talk.
This was by far my second favorite. The shape of it is usually what I would play with. I play a lot of elongated paddles, trying to force myself more to a wide body to help out in tournament play. But this is a great paddle. I think same thing with all court, leaning a little bit more towards control. But I really enjoyed the shape and just the way the ball comes off of this it's really good.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'd say between this and the Fridays, in terms of shape-wise, I enjoyed this one the most. I typically play with an elongated paddle, so it felt pretty similar. Definitely, I would say a little too soft for my liking.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, there's some power behind it, but I didn't feel like there's too much power for me. I'm not sure if it was just a really low swing weight for me.
Yeah.
Could have been it, but I mean, other than that, you had the really good soft game with it. You had a lot of resets.
We got some visitors.
Yes.
Got some doggy visitors. Hey, buddy. Hey there. Yeah, you're fine. You hang out with us all day long.
But yeah, I mean, good resets with it, really good drops with it. Dinkin felt good with it. Like I said, you have to generate a lot of power with it to feel comfortable with it. But I mean, other than that, not really too much to complain about it.
Okay, fair. Yeah. Where would you think of the Force?
So again, this was my least favorite.
Interesting.
I don't generate a lot of power, and so for me, it just didn't have what I need. I don't like the handle as much as I do some of the other ones, and I don't play with a lot of elongated, so it felt a little head heavy.
Yeah.
Even though it doesn't generate as the power that I needed, it's still kind of heavy in the hands. I just felt like at the net I couldn't be as quick as I would like to be with something with different shape.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this paddle is interesting. This is a good example of why I think it's good to kind of circle back to like paddles, because I think a year ago when I reviewed this, I remember thinking like it's got really good pop, like for what it is, and it actually felt light. But that was before Gen 3s were a thing. It was before, the standard for what's pop and power, I think, has gone up. So I think, yeah, it's good to like not anchor in to things, because everything you're saying is different than I said this time last year. Yeah, so that's very interesting. Yeah. Okay. Anything else on the Force? Yeah. Nothing.
Not for me.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's my least favorite. I didn't like this one.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead. So let's do. So this is we have 2 Friday paddles. This is the Challenger. This is the slightly more expensive one, still on $100. Yeah. Let's hear what you guys thought about this one. Whoever. Yeah. Anyone can start. I'm gonna go ahead and start with this
I like this paddle. It was all right. It played pretty nice. A little poppier than some of the other ones for me, which I kind of like a little bit of pop. But I actually like the cheaper version better for some reason. Even with the spray grid on it, I just again maybe a little. I don't know. I just like the cheaper one better.
Yeah,
maybe it's the ridges on the handle that I don't like, the ribs that are built into it. So maybe with some modification, I would like this one a little bit better.
Yeah, sure.
But it just didn't feel comfortable in my hands compared to what some of the other ones that you have.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
I would say maybe between these 2 Friday paddles, I don't really have a preference with them. I'd say kind of building off what Ray said with the spray-on grit and with the pop, I think when that grit starts going down, you're going to see a lot of balls go flying because it's just not going to grip it at all. And that'd be my one concern with this paddle. But, I mean, it has power behind it. It's a great price point like all Friday paddles. And, I mean, yeah, not really too much to complain or say I enjoy it, but it just kind of didn't feel anything special with it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Just building off of what the other guys already said, I thought the grit on this was a little bit more than I was expecting.
Yeah.
But still, for some reason, it doesn't feel like the face really grabs the ball, and I wouldn't really expect it to, especially at the price point these paddles are at. But I was happy to hit with these because you go to any local park, there's probably a few people that have a Friday paddle. So now that I know and the price point these paddles are at, like I would have no problem telling like my parents who'd probably play once a year, like go get the 2 for whatever deal or one of these paddles if you want something more. But it's overall not too bad, but it was definitely towards the bottom of the paddles that I like. Maybe it's because it was just a little bit more stiff.
Okay. Yeah. That's great. Let me hear your thoughts on the cheaper one, and then maybe we'll round up like just kind of the 2 together. Go ahead, Artie, who's got the mic.
Yeah,
This is the cheaper Friday paddle. That was the Challenger. This one's a little less. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually like this more than the other one. Same thing with what the other guy said. This is a lot less gritty, and I think it shows at the price point. But like I was saying, I would have no problem telling somebody who plays, like I said, once a year, twice a year, whatever. If you want to have a paddle just in your bag or in your closet that you're gonna pull out whenever friends call you up, why not? This is a good deal. It's a pretty decent paddle. It actually played not that bad, so much better than I expected.
Yeah.
Again, building off what I already said, I mean, like, for the price point, it's a really good paddle. I did think I enjoyed this a little bit better than the other Friday one, just because it didn't have a whole lot of pop to it. It did have a little bit less grip, but I think it had a little bit more dwell off of it. So, I mean, like, you could roll the ball a lot more. You don't feel like you're going to be spraying it as many balls as you do with that one.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure if it's this one just maybe a little more broken in that one. But,
yeah.
I mean, it felt good, pretty light, kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not too much really to complain about it. I think just kind of felt very similar to a lot of other paddles.
Yeah.
I mean, like, yeah.
Yeah,
so building off what I already said, it's a good paddle for someone to get, like, if they're getting into the sport, not playing too much, and looking for a couple paddles at a really good price point. I know, like, when I started playing, I got, like, a 2-pack off Amazon for, like, $30. I think I outgrew those in probably, like, 2 weeks of playing.
Yeah.
I mean, you pay $40 more and you get a lot better quality than that.
Yeah.
And I mean, just getting into it, Friday paddles are great. Like already said, you can go to pretty much any park. There'll be a handful of people there that use these. And I mean, a lot of people love them. Like we have a good friend of ours that we play a league with. He's probably,
He's a higher level player.
I would say he's probably 4-1, 4-2. And like, this is his go-to paddles these Fridays.
Yeah.
He
It's
doesn't
so
see
interesting, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, like you see some people are like getting up to that high level and like there's $250, $260, $270 paddles that there's a lot to offer, but they still go to paddles like these.
Yeah.
And I mean, it shows it works their game. And I mean, the paddle's not everything. So
Yeah. I mean, like I show up at a park and if I see somebody like hitting with a wooden one or something, I'm like, oh, they're new.
Yeah.
But if I see that, I'm like, I don't really know what
It's
you
like,
are.
you don't
Like
know
you
what's
can't
going
really
on.
judge
You
them
could
on
be
it.
new,
Yeah.
you could
Like
be
what
pretty
the heck are
decent,
you?
right?
Yeah.
Like that.
Like
You
I
just
gotta
don't
watch
know.
you or something. Okay. Thanks, Ethan. Right.
So this was my favorite paddle that I played with today. Maybe it's the shape I'm so used to.
Yeah, that's
the
true.
weight of it, as far as the balance point, feels very similar to what I'm used to playing with. I think bang for buck, this is a great paddle. I think you could buy 4 of these and get out there with your family, have a great time, and be somewhat competitive. I mean, this is a decent paddle. Of course, you'd probably have to replace it as the grit wears out.
Yeah.
But
Right, yeah.
it's a good paddle, man. It just felt comfortable in my hands. Like I said, I like the way it played at the net. I felt like I could get decent serves, some decent shots with it. I was impressed for the first time I played with a Friday paddle today. And maybe I was super impressed with it. Maybe that's why I liked it so much.
Yeah, I like their fun. It's so interesting. Every person that I've had try both the Challenger and that one, everybody likes that one better. Yeah, which is nice for me because then it's easier. I just recommend the cheaper one, so that's fine. Yeah.
And like I said, maybe some of it too is the grip doesn't have the ribs built into the grip on it, which I didn't
Yeah,
like.
not quite as prominent. I think there's some little
there's some
ones or
there's some little
something,
ribs,
right?
but it's not like the.
It's a little bit more
Yeah,
natural.
those are major ribs on that one.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. All right, well, thanks, guys. Any closing thoughts? And so we have two votes for the Monarch as a favorite and a Friday as a favorite. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, awesome. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. And
Appreciate you
I
having
know
us.
everybody likes this. So thanks again for coming out, and thanks for having us, Chris, here at the Underground. So thanks, fellas.
Appreciate it, man.
We're cutting back now. Cody didn't see that review, so I'll just tell you one thing, and then I want to hear if that's surprising to you. So, two people's favorites were the Monarch Jelly Bean,
Okay.
soon to be called the Pegasus Jelly Bean, and one person's favorite was the OG Friday paddle. Does that surprise you? Either of those?
No, the only reason, and the only like I don't think I said this, but the only reason why the OG Friday paddle would probably not make my list is just because of its spray on grit. But again, you can buy.
That's true.
You can get 2 of those for less than $100, and that'll probably last longer than some of the some of the raw carbon fiber paddles.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I did a standalone review of these like a while ago, and I played with them for a while, and I didn't notice. I mean, it will happen. I will like stand to it to the frickin' grave. I've not found a spray on grit paddle yet that doesn't wear out. Like maybe this like a Finagrit by Selkirk will be something different, but we'll see. Like prove it. But for 2 for $95, which equates to like 1 for $47.50 or something like that, man. Like for every person who's like, hey, what paddle do you recommend? And I know they're a family member and they'll play a few times. Like Friday paddles, they're fun. They've got designs, and even like people who are going to play every once in a while, they're still good. Like I play well with them. And I'll say it's funny enough. Every person that I've had try both the OG Friday paddles and the Challenger, everybody likes the OG Friday paddles better. I don't know why. I think maybe it's just a little bit more crisp of a feel.
Probably.
A little bit lower swing weight, and I don't know, but people like the OG Friday paddles. They just did something right at a good price, and people like it. The grit will wear out eventually, but it's a low price. So
yeah, any single time that someone's like, "Hey, my wife and I want to get into pickleball," I say Friday pickleball.
It's easy, dude. It's easy. It's a good price, and they
Every
play
single
well.
time.
You've heard it from like plenty of reviewers now. Like they're good paddles. So they're thermoformed, decently moderate. Like swing weight of that one was 116. Yeah, everything's fine. They spin well, and then also I feel validated. Everybody 2 out of 3 voted for the Monarch Jelly Bean, so eat it.
Only because
Just
you didn't have a J2. No.
I seriously did not have the J2 though. That is a thing, and that's a confounding factor. But I wish I did, and I think they probably would have liked it. Again, I haven't met anybody who's tried that and not liked it, but okay.
Yeah,
I think that's it, man.
That's
I think
it, man.
we're good. I think we should we should probably come up with some sort of giveaway at some point. But other than that, I think that's it. So thanks everybody for
Justin's gonna give
watching
away
the
his J2. No.
No, he's not. Not to Cody. No, thanks everybody for watching the PBMED podcast number 3 with me, your host Dustin, and Cody with Carpe Diem, the co-host. Come back next week and we'll have good stuff. So thanks a lot to everyone.
Yeah.